When you think about adaptive and personalized learning, I think it's inevitable that we as an educational community need to figure out ways of driving more personalized learning and personalized growth experiences. And we're seeing that across the board in how colleges award admittance to their organizations. We see it as individuals move into the professional world and take on careers, and we're seeing more personalizations throughout grade school as well. So, in terms of Instructure, we view our organization as a supporting player in a movement towards that more personalized journey. The other thing that's interesting to me, I attended an education conference a few months ago, and when I attend conferences, I like to get very involved, talk to lots of people, but then I try and take these moments just to try and stand back and understand the themes that are all evolving. What is that general sort of tone and chatter? And when I reflected on this one conference, and by the way, it wasn't just ed tech, it was educators, it was ed tech, it was education service providers, content, etc. What was fascinating to me is that the theme was very much about remediating this skills gap and creating more of this idea of how do we produce students and individuals that are better prepared to take on jobs in the marketplace. But the general tone of the way they were thinking about it was sort of pushing skills into humans, like this idea of almost these generic human vessels that we need to arm with skills based upon a job market. At Instructure, we think of it very differently. We think of it as understanding the individual, their path, their passions, and what their interests are. And we are one piece in a ecosystem, and ultimately the scaffolding that should be wrapped around an individual. And I think as we broadly take on more of that mindset of embracing the individual, it's enabled by adaptive and individualized learning, but ultimately leads to student success in that individual's definition. So we actually don't, as a company, we don't sort of watch data in terms of our market share and how we what are our numbers versus competitor numbers, etc. And there's a reason for that. It's a broader sort of strategic reason in terms of how we think about the company. I speak a lot about Instructure in terms of we've been very fortunate over the last 10 years with the adoption that we've had. And I talk a lot to my teams around this idea of the next chapter of Instructure. As I came on board, I talk about the next 10 years of Instructure and what that looks like and what that means, and how the character of the company and the objective and the mission of the company needs to continue to grow. And in the article that you mentioned, I talk about sort of moving into this adolescent phase where we're sort of figuring out what we're going to, as we're figuring out to be a fully formed adult, whatever that means, we're in that phase of figuring that out. But our mission needs to go beyond just sort of what market share looks like, for a couple reasons. One, if we're constantly looking at our competitors, we will miss many opportunities for innovation because we'll be following, not leading. Two is with the community that we've built and the growth that we've had, I believe it's incumbent upon us to sort of partner with the community that we have and the organizations we work with to inspire innovation, take risks, and experiment. And that's one of the themes that we've heard throughout. The other thing that's important, and the reason why we don't look at a lot of that data, and we make sure we're looking at the path that we're on the community, is we want to make sure that we're providing an equally great experience for all of our customers, regardless of what size they are. Our calculus in terms of the company doesn't change whether a customer of ours is a very large customer or a very small customer, or whether they're a U.S.-based customer or one based in Latin America, for example. So by just focusing on what we're doing and what we're doing well and serving in the community, that's how I focus. Yeah, we're going to continue to do what makes sense for us and for our customers. I have good conversations with all of our competitors. Actually, I've talked to the CEOs of every single one of our competitors. We have try and have good relationships with all of them as well, because ultimately we're all serving a similar space. And I know it sounds odd to think that way, but at the end of the day, we actually all have a common mission. Now, we're running a business as well, so we want to continue to run a healthy business, but competition is a good thing. Competition will continue to drive innovation and continue to make us hungry for things as well. And if what we do inspires our competitors and partners in the market to be that much better, then the outcome overall can be really beneficial to students and teachers. So that's really the way we think about it. Now, we are also adding more solutions. I mean, part of what we're doing is extending beyond LMS without losing sort of focus on innovating within that core. But as we extend to student success and we extend into data and information, providing more insights into education, we believe that Instructure is in a great position to have an impact. So that includes other solutions like Mastery Connect, where we want to really introduce more integrative and innovative assessments. The way I talk about it is where we can understand competency in the flow of teaching and at the point of learning, and interject at the point of learning. It's things like DIG that you mentioned, and actually DIG is a code name for a project that we have going on for some time. And we get a lot of questions around data at this conference. I've had a lot of questions around, well, are you selling our data? How are you using our data? What's going on? And I want to be really clear on this. We decided to talk about DIG and introduce DIG about 6 or so months ago. The best part of it is creating a conversation. It's creating a conversation that I think is very necessary. We see data and data usage at an industry level happening across many industries right now. And one of the challenges, I believe, is that industries are not bringing those conversations into the open and in a collaborative way. So, that was a very distinct decision of ours to say, hey, we have this initiative called DIG. We believe there's a lot of potential to use data and information at industry level to benefit education. We're going to bring it into the open and have this conversation collaboratively with everyone. We're working with many institutions right now around data tenants. We'll be putting out a blog post soon that talks about the data tenants and how we think about the fact that data is owned by the student and by the institution. It should always stay that way. We should be doing this in partnership. But instead of sort of companies lurking around in the shadows and using data behind the scenes, it's important for us to create that conversation. The second component around data that is very important is the fact that we are not forcing ourselves to a timeline or a conclusion point. So when you listen to how we talk about DIG, we have no expectation of when we're launching products or when we're releasing things. It is absolutely not constrained with a timeline because we don't want to make mistakes. We want to do this well with everybody, and as we sort of bring things to market, we want to make sure that they're impactful, but they have high integrity as well. There is absolutely a commitment to us doing the best we can to sort of embrace and to understand the needs along many different dimensions. Diversity is one of them. And one of the challenges, frankly, that we have is we have, as I mentioned the other day, we have over 450,000 people in our Canvas community. All of those 450,000 people are very passionate about what we're doing, and they all have great ideas and voice that comes in. But one of the things that we do first and foremost is we don't make decisions on what to do in our product based upon who's paying the most money. That actually is the first fundamental thing to start with. We want to be very thoughtful, find the best mechanisms to take in information and take in input. So when our Canvas community was 50,000 people, even though it was still large, it was much easier to take in input, to vote in features and functions and things like that. And so we need to keep reinventing how we take in input, how we process that input, how we prioritize things and understand the impact. Sometimes the things we'll do have sort of broad impact and broad applicability. Sometimes they will have very targeted impact and applicability as well. So there's a few things that we do in mind. One is keep reinventing how we take input from everywhere we can. Two is make it very easy and frictionless for anyone, regardless of sort of where they are and what circumstances, provide input into the organization. I also talked about so those real world experiences and getting on the road. For me personally, I'm on the road quite a bit. I've been all over the world, all over the country in the last year, and that helps to stay very, very grounded. So these are the things that influence how we make those decisions.
You also want to touch on the idea that Canvas wasn't built with a specific pedagogy in mind,
Yeah.
but it actually is an open ecosystem that allows.
So there's the last two things. So one, it is built to be flexible and open. And if you actually go and visit a lot of the schools and institutions that use Canvas today, I know it sounds weird. It doesn't. It's not identical. It's not cookie cut. There's such variety in how Canvas is used today, and we're happy that Canvas as a platform is flexible. And that's both in terms of how Canvas can be used, the flexibility in configuring Canvas or customizing Canvas, as well as the partner network. One thing you may not know is there are over 250 software applications that have been built within and on top of Canvas by our customers. So having the ability to do that, make sure that we are not the only channel for innovation in Canvas, but we brought in that to our partners and our customers as well. So that's a big facet of what we do. The open source community is important. I mean, we continue to maintain that commitment towards open source. And open source can take a lot of work as well. So we have a very thriving open source community. We support that community very well. But the other thing across open source and across the products in general that's very important is we'll never be done. Data has been a big topic. A lot of institutions have asked me and said, hey, we want more from Canvas data. We want more data. We want it faster. We want it more comprehensive. We want to package it up this way. So as I've talked to many institutions and groups about data as an example, I said, look, we're going to keep progressing and keep investing, but we will never be done. So that's the other element that I think helps to understand our mission and what we're doing. I talked a little bit about our investment. We're investing more in hiring more developers this year than we ever have in the history of the company. We're doing that for a reason. I've worked in many different technology companies in the past, and that have grown over time. And especially in the world of software as a service, we need to recognize that what was innovative 3-4 years ago is table stakes today. And there are many industries where you see this 10 to 15 year cycles of technology players that rise to popularity and adoption, and then they trail off. The reason why they trail off is they forget their roots, they start being arrogant, not humble, they stop innovating. The thing that brought them into the forefront and gain of popularity is because they were willing to take risks and innovate, and then they stop investing as well. So I'm keenly aware of all of those things, and we're going to do our best to make sure we can resist those forces that typically work against technology companies as they want to continue to have that trusted relationship with customers.